Okay, so what if we could design a new human civilization right from scratch? I mean, one that's not just built to kind of cope with our biggest problems, but to solve them for good. Well, that's the ambitious blueprint we're diving into today.
Think about it. We pour trillions of dollars into fighting wars, poverty, and climate change. But what if we're just playing whack-a-mole with the symptoms? The source material we're exploring today asks a really provocative question. What if all these crises are just different faces of one single flaw, baked right into the very operating system of our society?
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll look at the problems we can't seem to solve. Then, we'll pinpoint the system flaw that might be causing them. After that, we'll walk through a whole new blueprint for civilization, where the idea comes from, what the end goal looks like, and, maybe most importantly, how we'd even measure our progress.
So, let's start with the big one. All these unsolved problems. You know, for all our global goals and our best intentions, why does it feel like we're just spinning our wheels?
I mean, just look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This was supposed to be our collective game plan for 2030. But for some of the most critical goals, like zero hunger, protecting life on land, or building peaceful societies, we aren't just stalling, we are actually going backward.
Get this, only 16%. That's how many of the SDG targets are actually on track. 16. Which means the other 84% are, well, they're failing. This isn't just a sign we need a small course correction. This suggests our whole approach might be fundamentally wrong. So what is the real problem here? Well, this brings us to the core diagnosis in the source material. And the argument is pretty stark. The problem isn't a lack of effort. It's not a lack of good intentions. The problem is the system itself. The source gives it a name, partial optimization. You know, it's a state where every country, every company, heck, every person is busy trying to win their own game, to maximize their own results. And here's the thing. We all know that saying, right? A society like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It doesn't matter how strong the other links are. But our system of partial optimization has us all polishing the strong links while the weak ones, like poverty or environmental collapse, are about to snap.
So this, right here, is the fundamental shift the source is arguing for. We need to move away from our current system of partial optimization, you know, where we all chase our self-interest and just treat symptoms, and move toward a system of total optimization, one that's guided by a common purpose for all of humanity and is designed to find and fix the real root causes.
Okay, so if total optimization is the end goal, how in the world do we get there? This isn't just some vague, hopeful idea. The source material lays out a very structured 5-step blueprint to get us.
And here it is, the blueprint. And it's all built on this really clean if-then logic. It's not just a wish list, it's a process. If we can all just acknowledge that our current system is failing, then we have to define a common purpose. And if we have a purpose, then we can start designing a new system to actually achieve it, you see? Each step just flows right into the next, building a path from our current problems to a real solution.
And step 2, you could argue this is the most critical piece of the whole puzzle, because without a shared goal, total optimization is just a nice phrase. The source suggests a goal that's both simple and incredibly powerful. What if humanity's #1 job was just the continuation of all species? A goal like that completely changes the game. It cuts across politics, economics, and national self-interest, and gives all of us a true north to aim for. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds a bit philosophical, but it's not pulled out of thin air. This blueprint is actually built on the evolution of a management theory that has a long track record of fixing complex systems. It's based on something called the theory of constraints, or TOC, developed by Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt. In the business world, this theory is legendary. The whole idea is that any system, no matter how complex, is held back by just one single bottleneck. And if you focus all your energy on fixing that one bottleneck, you improve the performance of the entire system. But here's the catch. You can't just drag and drop a business theory onto all of humanity, right? TOC was built for a world where the goal is profit. To apply it to society, it has to evolve. It needs a new goal, something bigger than money. And it needs totally new ways to measure progress. This evolved version is what the source calls the theory of evolutionary constraints. So, let's fast forward.
What's the payoff? If we actually do all this, if we follow this blueprint, what does this new civilization even look and feel like?
Well, the source paints this really beautiful picture. It's a society where you can live as yourself without the suffering of money. Just think about that. A civilization where our main focus shifts away from just scraping by, from survival, and toward genuine human flourishing, where our energy is spent on creativity, on growth, on solving the next great challenge.
The engine that makes this possible is a concept called the double policy. And it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. We all have two basic drives, right? First, there's that deep down instinct to protect ourselves and our family. Then there's our rational brain that knows we all have to cooperate to survive. Right now, those two things are often in conflict. The whole point of the double policy is to design a system where they work together, where the best thing for you as an individual is also the best thing for our species as a whole.
Okay, but here's a classic saying for a reason. You can't manage what you can't measure. So the final, crucial piece of this incredibly ambitious puzzle is figuring out a new way to track our performance as a global society.
So get ready for this. The source proposes a totally new key performance indicator, a KPI, for all of humanity. It's called the improvement rate per hour. Imagine being able to measure, in real time, exactly how fast we, as a species, are solving problems and moving toward our shared goals. It's about making our collective progress totally visible to everyone. And just look at this. This is what it could look like. A global dashboard that anyone could pull up, showing our collective improvement rate per hour. This isn't just data. This would be like a compass for humanity. A real-time tool that tells us exactly what's working, what isn't, and where we need to focus all our collective energy next. And that, really, leaves us with one final, massive question to chew on. This blueprint offers a diagnosis, a logical path forward, and a tool to measure our journey. So if we actually had that power, if we could truly align all of humanity toward one single purpose and measure our speed, what would we choose? What would you want to improve first?